Hi, welcome to another episode of MYD Global. I'm your host, Leanne Hackman-Carty. Today's episode, I talk with Amanda Lamont with the Australian Institute for Disaster Resilience. She and I are going to talk about the impacts right now that are happening in Australia due to their unprecedented bushfire season. There's a lot of things going on, whether it be business impacts, mental health impacts, environmental impacts, but we're going to talk about where things are at, how people are responding, as well as how people can help in the future. So stay tuned. Hi, Amanda. Nice to see you today.
Hi, Leanne. Good to see you again.
Unfortunately, I wish this was under much better circumstances, but I did want to get a chance to get a bit of an update on what's really happening in Australia right now, because we see stuff on the news, we hear different reports, but I mean, you're there, you know what's happening. So can you just kind of explain what you're seeing and hearing?
Yeah, and to paint a bit of background, the context and the complexity that we're dealing with at the moment. First fires started in Australia on the East Coast in August, and that's in the middle of our winter. So we have been dealing with bushfires for 6 months. Big fires really got underway in early November, and the current situation is that we still have quite a lot of fires that are not contained and under control throughout the southeast, around the coastal areas and inland of Australia. So just to start by saying, this is really a quite unprecedented scale of bushfires that we're experiencing in terms of the geographic area that they're covering and the length of time that they have been burning. We don't normally associate bushfires as being this long and slow onset that lasts for months and months and months, but that's what we're seeing at the moment, impacting on a number of different areas at once. And so the ability to continue to fight these fires and keep lives and properties and the environment safe at the same time, working with communities that have actually been impacted months ago and are trying to rebuild. So on the ground, it's looking incredibly complicated and complex, and there is a lot of resources pulled onto the ground to assist in this really major and unprecedented bushfires that we're experiencing. Unprecedented is a word that's being used a lot. I think quite rightly so. This is unprecedented, and this is not like anything that we have seen before.
Yeah. Well, and I know, we can explore so many different aspects of the impacts. One, obviously, you're still in the response mode. So to think these communities are recovering and well on their way, that's just not realistic. You're just trying to figure out what's going on and trying to save homes and lives and animals. The business impact, I think, is one too. If you've got a business in the area, whether you're directly impacted or indirectly, can you speak a little bit to what you're seeing on that front?
Yeah, that's been a really incredibly challenging aspect of these fires. They started at the end of the year for us, which is going into our summer period and also our holiday period. So all down the east coast of New South Wales and Victoria, in the southeast corner of Australia, it is beautiful, pristine, natural bushland setting, hitting beautiful sandy beaches along the coast. So very naturally, this is where a lot of people come to for their Christmas and New Year celebrations and for their holidays. And so these fires impacted a time when there are a lot of people on the road. People were at their holiday homes on the beach, tourists were in the area. So a lot of businesses ramp up for that period of time, both in terms of accommodation, tourist businesses, general businesses. They've been impacted because roads have been closed. People have been evacuated. People have been told to stay away. People have been stuck. People haven't been coming. They've been told to stay away because of the fires. So the complexity of the flow-on effects of these fires, whereas quite rightly people have lost homes, and that is the absolute priority, and lives that have been lost, that is the absolute priority. The complexity then, the flow-on effects, the personal impacts on people's lives and families and the dynamics and the community structures, that's really important, and that's deep-seated, and that can carry on for a long time. Talked about the business. So these businesses that were ready for a busy summer season, their shops are empty, their supplies are going off. I spoke recently to somebody in a community in the bush near here that's been heavily impacted, and they own a lolly and a chocolate shop, and they've stocked up for the tourists. They're not here, and they're actually losing all of that stock now. So rallying around, support people so their businesses don't go under, and so identifying those needs. So really the broad, deep-seated needs, the environmental impacts. They're really deep-seated. People are really feeling a deep emotional sense of loss by the loss of environmental pristine bushlands, wilderness areas that are really quite untouched, and the loss of animals. You've clearly heard about that. That's having a really deep impact on people's ability to really comprehend what's happened, apart from the fact that some of these people have lost homes and businesses and property and assets and mementos and memories. These people that have a real connection to the land, that's where they live in the bush, that loss of that natural environment to which they're so connected is having a really profound effect, an emotional effect on people. And quite frankly, people are still in shock, cannot grasp the magnitude of loss.
Yeah, it's hard to comprehend, whether you're living it or watching it. Like, it's just hard to understand. One of the things too, I mean, we do see the pictures coming out. I've seen koala bears and kangaroos, and I mean, I've seen all kinds of stuff, the devastation, and it breaks your heart. But at the same time, I know people want to help. Part of the challenge is they don't know how to help, so they send things that maybe aren't practical, not needed. So do you have any advice on maybe some groups that are working on the front lines that, if people want to donate, I mean, give cash to the Australian Red Cross or whoever, someone who can actually put it to good use?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we have been messaging really early that donating goods comes from a place of love and wanting to contribute. This often causes some challenges for communities and individuals and local governments who need to find a place to store them and distribute them. So we've done the best that we can in that aspect, but our message was to stop sending things to people until they work out what they need and where they can put that, and to send cash donations. That's the best way to support at the moment. So you mentioned the Australian Red Cross. Many other organisations are accepting those contributions and have really rigorous structures around how they can be most equitably and efficiently and quickly allocated to people. And that's happening now as I see it. People are still addressing basic needs like accommodation, food, shelter, clothing, and St Vincent de Paul and other charity organisations have been fabulous in providing people with provisions and cash. They're giving people cash so they can purchase their own things. So what's important there is people's sense of pride and respect in themselves and being able to take control themselves and purchase their own clothes, what they would like to wear or what they feel comfortable in. It's really important to give people back a sense of control and agency over their own sort of destiny. So that's been fabulous. People getting cash, they can go and buy what they need and they can decide what it is that they need and get. So that's rolling out, and I've just heard some fabulous stories of people coming into the recovery centres that have been set up and being given cash straight away so they can go and buy some clothes and some basic needs for families, because that's where some of these communities are at. They have no home, they've lost everything, and they're just trying to rally around to get those basic needs met. And then, of course, the long road, once they start processing the system and replacing documents, understanding insurance, cleaning up their properties, hazardous waste, asbestos. Some people already cleaned up, ready to go, others not there yet. Access to homes because of hazardous waste, tips overflow, dumps. So there are a lot of challenges, but the great news is that governments are really focused well and truly on the needs of communities and individuals. And in Australia, when you talked about people wanting to help, we really push this notion of community-led or community-centred recovery. So empowering communities to take agency and to be in control of their own destinies in this recovery, and to collectively decide how they want their future to look like and how they're going to build their resilience in the future in this process, and being closely supported by local governments. Here in Australia, we have a local government that is well connected to communities. So when people want to help, it's time to stop and reflect and let the community sit back and say, well, look, what do we need and what are we going to do? And respond to those needs as they come. They might not come in the first couple of weeks, maybe months or years. And for those people to still be ready and on hand to provide assistance and support in the years down the track when it's needed, and hopefully not be sort of distracted and gone on to some other opportunity. This need is going to be a long-term one.
Well, and I know your organization, I mean, you're about disaster resilience. And do you see that this, I mean, maybe it's too early to say, but do you see that what you've gone through recently is going to slightly change your work and how you see things in the future? Because
the hope is the conversations are around future-proofing and being future-ready. So rather than build back what we had and then risk the same thing happening again, I'm really heartened to hear some really constructive conversations around, well, how are we going to build resilience in the process for the future? And that is understanding where we live, land use planning. Yeah. Are we going to build in these dangerous flood zones or fire-prone areas? And how are we interacting well with the environment to ensure that we're protecting and not endangering just in our environmental space as well? So I am heartened to know these conversations are there around a focus on recovery and a focus on resilience, as well as the focus on how do we combat these fires in the future. There's been equal attention being paid to that resilience at a community level. So that's where we need to go. That's where the future lies. And I think the only way that we can handle the complexity is to really understand at a local level and build from that.
No, I 100% agree. And so the work you do on an ongoing basis is going to be that much more important. But it's truly, if you're going to make a difference, it's got to be right there. It's got to be building different. It's got to be doing things differently and being more resilient. So I wish you and all the people you're working with, the NGOs, the government departments, all the best as you go through this. And I look forward to you being on the other side when you're truly in the recovery mode. I'll definitely,
that'd be great.
And I'll definitely, if you've got any links, I will definitely put them in the description of the video so people can check in and see what's happening, and hopefully they can help you and contribute in ways that are meaningful. So thanks, Amanda, so much, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks very much. Chat soon.